Continental Airlines, Flight 3407, departed at 9:20 p.m. Eastern Time, February 13th, 2009. En route from Newark Liberty International Airport to Buffalo Niagara International Airport. The flight was one of 7 Continental flights bound for Buffalo Niagara that day, and was merely one out of 110 incoming and outgoing flights across all carriers in Buffalo. But Flight 3407 was different. Much different. It was an ill-fated flight that would never reach its final destination. And underneath a tragedy that saddens so many homes across our nation may lie a deception that runs so deep that it threatens to tear at the heart of liberty itself and tighten the stranglehold over the throat of justice. And on a seemingly normal winter night, unbeknownst to all of us, not only did our great nation lose many of its beloved sons and daughters, but truth lost one of its greatest warriors and most tireless seekers. Beverly Eckert, the voice of September 11th.
Was told to stay where it was. There had been a plane crash. The hospital would need all hands on deck to care for the wounded as they came pouring through the doors. It was the same alert with the same hope that had doctors and nurses on standby throughout Manhattan on September 11th, 2001. In our fourth story tonight, then as now, the doctors stood idle. The nurses waited in vain. Continental Airlines Flight 3407 crashed just outside Buffalo at about 10:20 last night. As a nurse told the Buffalo, New York News, there were no souls to bring in. All 49 people on board and one more on the ground dead, all of them lives worth remembering, worth celebrating. But one of them was a life intertwined with the life of her nation. Beverly Eckert was flying to Buffalo because that's where she and her husband, her late husband, Sean Rooney, had met. She was flying to Buffalo to celebrate what would have been his 58th birthday. Sean Rooney died on September 11th, 2001 in the South Tower of the World Trade Center in Lower Manhattan, talking to his wife on his cell phone as he tried to get out. After his death, Beverly founded Voices of September 11th, appearing among other venues on this news hour in pursuit of her missions, proper memorials, commissions, protections against future failed intelligence. Just last week, she met with President Obama, with other 9/11 family members, and family of those killed by al-Qaeda aboard the USS Cole in 2000. Today, President Obama recalled one of the things that gave her life meaning and drew a lesson from the painful circumstances of her death.
Tragic events such as these remind us of the fragility of life and the value of every single day. One person who understood that well was Beverly Eckert, who was on that flight and who I met with just a few days ago. You see, Beverly lost her husband on 9/11 and became a tireless advocate for those families whose lives were forever changed on that September day.
But let's take a look at some of the things that Barack Obama and his lapdog Keith Olbermann didn't and won't tell you about Beverly Eckert. Beverly was among only a handful of the September 11th victims' relatives who rejected the rich settlements offered by the government in exchange for a renunciation of all legal claims against U.S. persons or entities, such as corporations or government agencies. She participated in a number of lawsuits surrounding the attacks of September 11th with the express purpose of gaining discovery of truth and accountability about the events that transpired that day. But I don't want you to take my word for it. Let's take a look at the actual words from a true patriot, as only she could state them herself. On Friday, December 19th, 2003, she published the following statement. Now let's take a close look at some of the troubling aspects of the crash that took Beverly Eckert's life that night. The 55,000-pound aircraft slammed into a single-family home in what has been reported as only light snow and mist. The plane in Flight 3407 was of brand new condition and has only been in service since early April of 2008. Not even one full year. The flight data recorder found at the scene of the crash indicated that the plane's de-icing equipment had been turned on and was functioning properly, and coincidentally had been activated a mere 11 minutes after Flight 3407 had taken off. And investigators who examined both engines state that at the time of the crash, both of them were working properly as well. Also, a conversation between air traffic control and the pilots of Flight 3407 showed that there was nothing unusual about the flight, as controllers asked the plane to descend to 2,300 feet. But when the controller radioed the plane approximately 1 minute later, there was no response. So how is it that a brand new plane with very sophisticated de-icing equipment on the tail, wings, and propeller mysteriously crashed into the suburban area below, with the pilot and the crew giving no signals or signs of distress to air traffic control? And how can it be explained that, according to the Associated Press, less than a half an hour after Flight 3407 took off from Newark, New Jersey, another Continental commuter flight headed for the same destination in the same model of airplane flew the same route with the same conditions and landed perfectly safe? But don't worry, Steve Shallender, a National Transportation Safety Board member, states that an investigation will be completed in only a year. And I'm sure we'll get all our answers by then. And I have a message for Beverly. And that is to rest in peace. And know that we will find those who are responsible for the attack of 9/11. And we will hold them accountable. And rest assured that our silence cannot be bought.